So how would you know that this rep is going to be good for you, right? You probably try to understand, like, how do you approach these reps? How do you identify these reps? How do you actually info gather for these reps, right? So, look, the biggest things that you need to do to identify and find these reps, if you're a recruiter, is just these Facebook groups. Like you're just gonna volume game, right? You're just gonna have to find everyone and everything. But before that, you have to understand like sales and marketing T, because think of this as like a funnel. There's top of funnel, which are these Facebook groups, middle of funnel, which are these job boards, and then bottom of funnel, which are referrals, people that actually close, and then basically poaching, right? So that's the top three, right? The top, middle, and bottom funnel. If you figure out that way, then you can easily just filter out the trash, right? There's a lot of people in the sales space right now who just don't know how to actually close. So you have to understand if these people have sales calls recordings, and if they take a long time to pull up a sales call, that's another thing where it's like, dude, like, are you sure you're actually making money? Did you actually close before? Because that's the biggest indicator, right? So that's the first thing, is to identify these reps. And for example, if you're an offer owner, you know, the best things to do is if your current offer is doing more than 100K per month and you have one closer, you ask that closer, do you have any other closers or any other people that are looking to actually get on an offer, and you know there are killers, right? Or do you know any killers right now that want to jump on a different offer with the growth? You tell them like that you can work with them, there's a better compensation. You just figure out a way to make sure they entice them, right? That's the biggest thing. That's phase one. That's basically building the stepping stones to eventually having your own pipeline. So whenever you, let's say, churn, or when you have a rep leave, you can easily go to another pipeline and just get a new rep and instantly place a rep. That's the first thing. But before you understand all of that, it's like, how do you approach these reps? Like, how do you actually figure out like which reps are good or which reps are bad? Because look, there's a lot of shit in this space right now. A lot of people lying about numbers. People get on offers and they just don't turn out good. The first thing I'll tell you is the background. Like, look at this background. This is minimalistic, but they have to have at least this type of background, right? Something that's actually shows like that they invested to their setup. A good light, a good camera, a good mic. This mic's kind of bad, but you get the gist of it, right? You need to have every single thing to the T. They have to make sure that they invest continuously to make sure that their skills continuously go better. Another indicating factor is if they invest into a good sales coach. Kurt Udell, Tristan Steckler, at the top of my head, Christian Polk. Not any NDPQ, because typically there's a lot of people coming in, but those are the biggest people that would understand. Like, if they're from there, they have a good mindset. Because the biggest thing in sales is to figure out if this person has a good mindset. Because if they don't, honestly, just don't worry about it. They won't close no matter what. Because the mindset is actually the biggest thing in sales. Because you can be suck at the script, right? You can have no script, but your mindset and conviction in yourself and in the product could be like 100%. And 10 out of 10 times you'll sell more than the person that has a script. Because just me talking with conviction, I have no script right now, but you can feel that I can actually talk. I can actually tell you, and it's like literate, basically illustrate what I'm trying to tell you, right? Well, I'm trying to basically give you value. So that's basic. The same thing with a conviction type sales rep. 10 out of 10 times I would hire those type of sales reps where you can feel the conviction. Like, you don't feel like they're needy. You don't feel like they're, after something. You don't feel like they just are desperate for something. You can just tell that they're detached. So that's the biggest thing you have to figure out. And look, there's going to be times where you're going to have to cold outreach. If you want a good sales rep, you have to cold outreach to these offer owners, to these sales coaches, to other offer owners, asking like, hey, what is your top rep making? How can I get connected with that guy and ask for referrals? Just basically have your network, because the best hire will be your sales rep, because they are the people that will generate the most money. The marketing is bringing these leads, but the sales team, if they don't generate, the marketing doesn't eat. No one eats. So make sure you actually have so many people in your pipeline. They're begging you basically to get on your offer, because you know you have the best deal structure, you have the best commissions, you have the offer, you have the best fulfillment, you have best growth, best marketing, best leads, and then boom, people will be begging to get on your offer that are high quality sales reps. Basically, people that can make you an extra 20 to 30, $200 to $300,000 in extra revenue with 20 to 30K in commissions for themselves. So they're begging you. Just figure that out. Like, A-player sales reps. People can generate so much damn money, and they're begging you to be on offer, on your offer. How would that feel? Like, let me ask you that. Like, how would that feel for you specifically? It'll feel good, right? It would feel damn good because these sales reps are after you. They're after your offer, your vision. That's a dopamine in itself, but you get the point. You get the gist. But look, on my thing, it says like, you can put up application, all this. Honestly, best thing is just to do that outreach. You're gonna basically have to do what cold DMs, basically go back in the trenches. But that's something that to build your pipeline. That's the biggest thing. That is actually so much sauce right there. You don't understand how much sauce I just basically spit out just to get a sales rep, because there is a decrease in good sales reps right now, because everyone has been basically sold on the idea that you should take 2-3 calls a day and just make $20,000 a month. Some offers, yes, but they're just going to fire you because the offer is so good. They can hire someone else who take 12 calls a day and then make $50,000, $60,000 in commissions and make them basically $1 million in revenue. So in their minds is like, who is better? Who is going to give us the most ROI in that slots? And then they figure out the person that works more time, has better skills, is more refined. That's the person they're going to go to. So just think about that. Just think about that. So those are the first two phases. The third is actually figuring out how to gather basically info on that guy's or that sales rep or that girl or whatever you want to call them. What's their basic standards, basically their settings or their data, as I would say it, their data. If you figure out their data, ask the current offer owner, like, what is their data? Like, what are they close rate? What is their show rate? What is their cash per booking? What is their lifetime value? No, not lifetime value. That's a marketing term, but you get the gist of it. How much are they lose? Like, what's their AOV? How long do they take for their calls? How many calls do they take? What is their projected revenue? So let's say they basically took, let's say they do 6 days a week, right? They basically work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. You basically project that. So let's say they do actually do five calls a day, 5 days a week. And then you say, like, let's say they double the call volume. Like, how much money more would they make? Like, their projected revenue. And then you figure out all the numbers and you figure out who to actually hire. Because someone could take 2 calls but be like $20,000 a month in commissions. Someone could be taking 10 calls and make $30,000 in commissions. From there, you're like, who should I take? Well, it's of course the guy that's 2 calls a day, right? That guy can make you so much more money if they add just another 2 calls, because he can make $400,000. And boom, you found you're basically an A player. The other guy is also basically the mid A player, but he just do more volume. And then you basically install that volume into that first guy, and then boom, that's another way of making more money, because you understand who to put your money into. You have to also have these types of systems in your business as well. Understanding the projected, the cash per booking, the AOV. How much are they actually getting cash collected? Their revenue. How much are they actually, getting chargebacks? How much is their time on sales? How much is their projected revenue every single month, every week, every day? Make sure like you basically autistic with your numbers on these sales reps, so that way they can understand, okay, what I need to do, what lever I need to switch, like their show rate. Maybe their show rate is so low, but their close rate is high. It's like, okay, but if they have more calls, they might have a lower close rate. So you're not looking at the close rate, but now you're looking at the show rate. How to switch that lever on and make more money. So it's also making sure you're an operator. In your mind, it's like, okay, right now I've grown this offer to $100,000 a month, which in itself is all right, right? You're doing good, but now it's also flipping that lever. Making sure that you're autistic with your numbers, hiring someone, making sure that they're doing this for you, making sure you're overseeing this and making sure that they're making money for you. And of course, scale it, because once you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 10 sales reps making $300,000 a month. How much is that? $3 million a month, because you actually focus on how to hire. That way you have all A players, no BC players. And from that, you can have a team lead. You don't have a sales manager who takes 5% for doing nothing, right? The team lead, the person that is in the trenches with them, who does the best, and gets compensated, maybe an extra $5,000 a month. Boom. Now you have a team. That's what Daniel LS does to the T. And if you can implement that, there's going to be lots of things you can do as well. You would have a bigger team. You would have to do more in accounting. And of course, the Daniel LS has such more complexities because he does hire more people. His fulfillment's higher, his marketing. So there's a lot of things that you have to pull and bring in. because of course he has a higher profit share because he wants more money liquid, right? You can see what he has right now. He definitely has a lot of money liquid because he understood the profit share. He has at least 60% profit share, and he makes $5 million a month. So if you do the math, you're like, dude, this guy is actually making the most money in info right now. Probably higher, but like for my type of man, like someone that's purely doing info and doesn't have that big of a social media presence, this guy is making money. And you have to figure out why, though. How is he actually doing this? How is his marketing so talented? How is his sales talented? How is his recruitment? It's because he followed this simple process, making sure his sales team, marketing, you could do this recruitment with any single team member. And then you have people making 6 figures a year in every single role. That's, just think of it like that. If you're able to do that, your evaluation, if you do want to exit out, of course, you can exit out for so much damn money. So this is just like this, basically the startup to make a good big more money, because this could even be implemented to private equity, right? Where people are like wanting more VPs, more CMOs, CEOs, just CFOs to be able to actually have that higher standard. If you could do this with private equity, you can do this with anyone. You can recruit, you can put these systems, and then you can make so much money, because money is either having a startup idea that turns to billions of dollars, like you make him in the next Facebook, or private equity, where you're making money from basically other people's businesses. And I'm the private equity spot. Like, I'm not going to be the smartest guy. I don't have these startup ideas, but I know how to make money. So this is just basically going on a rant to where it's like, dude, there's so much money in this world. And like, there's so much, like, I know rich people say liquidity, capital, blah, blah, blah. But like, at the end of the day, there's so much cash you can make. You can make fuck you money. Like, dead ass, you can make so much money. But people are so retarded. Like, dead ass, they're so retarded. Like, even me sometimes, I'm like, dude, what should I do? Just do something, right? Like, make a video, because this, like, me making this video just basically made my thoughts just have step by step. Like, in 12 minutes, I basically have everything organized in my brain, right? And not a lot of people can do that, right? Because this is a skill. Because I posted for at least a year. I posted consistently. I maybe had a couple breaks, but consistently in a year, I've been posting videos. I've been posting Instagram reels, and they sucked at first. But then they eventually got somewhat better. Now they're just trash, right? They're dirt, like they were garbage. They were probably trash with throw up. Now they're just trash, regular trash. But it's also improvement, right? You understand, like, no one's going to be good. Like, even Hard Knocks, School of Hard Knocks, he posted so much. So now this is just, I digress, right? So these are the biggest things for sales reps, right? To make sure that you're hiring this right person. All these numbers, all these metrics, you have to be overly autistic with these. I'm being so serious. Because if the sales rep isn't overly autistic, how are they going to be overly autistic for your offer? How are they going to have the conviction? How are they going to actually understand this? Because I understand when I was basically getting an offer that actually had maybe 6 figures, the biggest thing I knew that I had to interview with them is that I was overly autistic with my numbers. I was overly autistic. I was overly convicted. I understood what I needed from them and what they needed from me. And I just put all my effort into that. And I took maybe 1 or 2 calls a day and made $10,000 a month, right? Like, that's the dream, right? But like, at the same time, I was calling, texting leads. But I digress. I barely took any calls. So this is pure sauce. Like, if you implement this, you can get an A-player sales rep super easily. Super easily. But you have to, of course, make sure you delegate this, because you don't want to do this low-level task, like taxing some people. But you have to make sure that you're building this pipeline, because having a good sales pipeline is like having a good offer. It's like having good fulfillment. It needs to be, like, they all need to come together to make sure you're making so much money. So this is what we do. That's how I help business owners as well make money, by just placing sales reps. Because I don't do the training, I don't do any of that. I just make sure you get the sales reps that are needed for your offer. So I figure out all these. I look at the numbers. We have a trial period, making sure that in 3 days you can figure out that this is the rep for you. In 3 days, if they don't close a deal, or 2, they're fired. You get another person. 3 days, fired. You do that until you get a closer that is a really good closer. Close the deal real well. They were laid down. They actually they actually did everything necessary to get that deal over the line. If they're able to do that, boom, you found your closer for long term, and then boom, you're basically in the green zone you found your first rep. Now you can get referrals from that guy, and from that guy, and then that guy, and then now you have a whole pipeline of reps you can just basically keep. And then on top of that, you can help us because we have a referral model. Like if you refer us, you get basically a percentage of how much they make. So in terms of that, it's an extra capital you can have, so you can put into your business more ads, and then boom. So I'm just telling you, more liquid, more capital, more money. So, if everything sounds good, I have book a call below. You can fill it out, and you can probably talk with either myself, Noah, or Joe, and we can talk about next steps. Peace.